Good morning. This is knowledge time. Welcome, alchemists. Today I'll be reading from the book The Laws of Human Nature by Robert Greene. Currently, I am in chapter 8 Change Your Circumstances by Changing Your Attitude, The Law of Self-Sabotage, Part 2 Keys to Human Nature. We humans like to imagine that we have an objective knowledge of the world. We take it for granted that what we perceive on a daily basis is reality. This reality being more or less the same for everybody. But this is an illusion. No two people can see or experience the world in the same way. What we perceive is our personal version of reality, one that is of our own creation. To realize this is a critical step in our understanding of human nature. Imagine the following scenario. A young American must spend a year studying in Paris. He is somewhat timid and cautious, prone to feelings of depression and low self-esteem. But he's genuinely excited by this opportunity. Once there, he finds it hard to speak the language, and the mistakes he makes and the slightly derisory attitude of the partisans make it even harder for him to learn. He finds the people not friendly at all. The weather is damp and gloomy. The food is too rich. Even Notre Dame Cathedral seems disappointing. The area around it is so crowded with tourists. Although he has pleasurable moments, he generally feels alienated and unhappy. He concludes that Paris is overrated and a rather unpleasant place. Now imagine the same scenario, but with a young woman who is more extroverted and has an adventurous spirit. She's not bothered by making mistakes in French, nor by the occasional snide remark from a partisan. She finds learning the language a pleasant challenge. Others find her spirit engaging. She makes friends more easily, and with more contacts, her knowledge of French improves. She finds the weather romantic and quite suitable to the place. To her, the city represents endless adventures, and she finds it enchanting. Excuse me, my allergies. In this case, two people see and judge the same city in opposite ways. As a matter of objective reality, the weather of Paris has no positive or negative qualities. Clouds simply pass by. The friendliness or unfriendliness of the partisans is a subjective judgment. It depends on whom you meet and how they compare with the people where you come from. Notre Dame Cathedral is merely agglomeration of carved pieces of stone. The world simply exists as it is. Things or events are not good or bad, right or wrong, ugly or beautiful. It is we, with our particular perspectives, who add color or to subtract it from things and people. We focus on either the beautiful Gothic architecture or the annoying tourist. We, with our mindset, can make people respond to us in a friendly or unfriendly manner, depending on our anxiety or openness. We shape much of the reality that we perceive, dictated by our moods and emotions. Understand, each of us sees the world through a particular lens that colors and shapes our perceptions. Let us call this lens our attitude. The great Swiss psychologist Carl Jung defined this in the following way. Attitude is a readiness of the psyche to act or react in a certain way. To have an attitude means to be ready for something definite, even though this something is unconscious. For having an attitude is synonymous with a priori orientation to a definite thing. What this means what this means is the following. In the course of a day, our minds respond to thousands of stimuli in the environment. Depending on the wiring of our brain and our psychological makeup, certain stimuli, clouds in the sky, crowds of people, lead to stronger firings and responses. The stronger the response, the more we pay attention. Some of us are more sensitive to stimuli than others would mostly ignore. If we are unconsciously prone to feelings of sadness for whatever reason, we are more likely to pick up signs that promote this feeling. If we have a suspicious nature, we are more sensitive to facial expressions that display any kind of possible negativity and to exaggerate what we perceive. This is the readiness of the psyche to react in a certain way. We are never conscious of this process. We merely experience the after effects of these sensitivities and firings of the brain. They add up to an overall mood or emotional background that we might call depression, hostility, insecurity, enthusiasm, or adventurousness. We experience many different moods, but in an overall sense, we can say that we have a particular way of seeing and interpreting the world, dominated by one emotion or a blend of several, such as hostility and resentment. Excuse me, my nose. This is our attitude. People with a largely depressive attitude can feel moments of joy, but they are more disposed toward experiencing sadness. They anticipate the feeling in their day-to-day encounters. John illustrates this idea in the following way. Imagine that on a hike, people come upon a brook that must be crossed to continue the journey. One person, without much thought, will simply leap across, touching a stone or two, not worried at all about possibly falling. He loves the sheer physical pleasure of the jump and doesn't care if he fails. Another person is excited as well, but it has less to do with the physical joy that with the mental challenge the brook represents. She will quickly calculate the most effective means of crossing and will gain satisfaction from figuring this out. Another person of a cautious nature will take more time to think it through. He takes no pleasure in the crossing. He is irritated by the obstruction, but he wants to continue the hike and he will do his best to safely cross. A fourth will simply turn back. She will see no need for crossing and will rationalize her fears by saying the hike has been long enough. No one simply sees or hears the rushing of water over rocks. Our minds do not perceive just what is there. Each person sees and responds to the following brook differently, according to their particular attitude: adventurous, fearful, etc. The attitude that we carry with us throughout life has several roots. First, we come into this world with certain genetic inclinations towards hostility, greed, empathy, or kindness. We can notice these differences. For instance, in the case of the Chekhov children, who all had to respond to the same physical punishment of the father, at a very early age, Antoine revealed a more ironic attitude, prone to laughing at the world and seeing things with some detachment. This made it easier for him to reassess his father once he was on his own. The other children lacked this ability to distance themselves and were more easily enmeshed in the father's brutality. This would seem to indicate something different in the way Antoine's brain was wired. Some children are greedier than others. They display from early on a greater need for attention. They tend to always see what is missing, what they are not getting from others. Second, our earliest experiences and attachment schemes, see chapter 4, play a large role in shaping the attitude. We internalize the voices of the mother and father figure. If they were very authoritarian and judgmental, we will tend to be harsher on ourselves than others and have a more critical bend toward everything we see. Equally important are the experience we have outside the family as we get older. When we love or admire someone, we tend to internalize a part of their presence, and they shape how we see the world in a positive way. This could be teachers, mentors, or peers. Negative and traumatic experience can have a constricting effect. They close our minds off to anything that might possibly make us re experience the original pain. Our attitude is constantly being shaped by what happens to us, being vestiges of our earliest attitude always live on, no matter how far he progress. Check how remains susceptible to feelings of depression and self-loathing. What he must understand about the attitude is not only how its colors our perceptions, but also how it actively determines what happens to us in life, our health, our relations with people, and our success. Our attitude has a self-fulfilling dynamic. Look again at the scenario of the young man in Paris, feeling somewhat tense and insecure. He reacts defensively to mistakes that he makes in learning the language. This makes it harder for him to learn, which in turn makes meeting people more difficult, which makes him feel more isolated. The more his energy lowers from depression, the more this cycle perpetuates itself. His insecurities can also push people away. The way we think about people tends to have a like effect upon them. If we feel hostile and critical, we tend to inspire critical emotions in other people. If we feel defensive, we make others feel defensive. The attitude of the young man tends to lock him into his negative dynamic. The attitude of the young woman, on the other hand, triggers a positive dynamic. She is able to learn the language and meet people, all of which elevates her mood and energy levels, which makes her more attractive and interesting to others, on and on. Although attitudes come in many varieties and blends, we can generally categorize them as negative and narrow or positive and expansive. Those with a negative attitude tend to operate from a basic position of fear toward life. They unconsciously want to limit what they see and experience to give them more control. Those with a positive attitude have a much less fearful approach. They are open to new they are open to new experiences, ideas, and emotions. If the attitude is like our lens on the world, the negative attitude narrows the aperture of this lens, and the positive variety expands it as far as possible. We might move between these two poles, but generally, we tend to see the world with a more closed or open lens. Your task as a student of human nature is twofold. First, you must become aware of your own attitude and how it slants your perceptions. It is hard to observe this in your day-to-day life because it is so close to you, but these are ways to catch glimpses of it in action. You can see it in how you judge people once they are out of your presence. Are you quick to focus on their negative qualities and bad opinions, or are you more generous and forgiving when it comes to their flaws? You will see definite signs of your attitude in how you face adversity or resistance. Are you quick to forget or gloss over any mistakes on your part? Do you instinctively blame others for any bad things that happen to you? Do you dread any kind of change? Do you tend to keep to routines and to avoid anything unexpected or unusual? Do you get the backup when someone challenges your ideas and assumptions? You also you will also catch signs of it in how people respond to you, particularly in a excuse in a nonverbal way. You catch them being nervous or defensive in your presence. Do you excuse me? You tend to attract people who play the mother or father in your life. Once you have a good feeling for the makeup of your own attitude, its negative or positive bent, you have much greater power to alter it, to move it more in the positive direction. Second, you must not only be aware of the role of your attitude, but also believe in its supreme power to alter your circumstances. You are not a pawn in a game controlled by others. You are an active player who can move the pieces at will and even rewrite the rules. View your health as largely dependent on your attitude. Feeling excited and open to adventure, you can tap into energy reserves you did not know that you had. The mind and the body are one, and your thoughts affect your physical responses. People can recover much more quickly from illness through sheer desire and willpower. You are not born with fixed intelligence and inherent limits. See your brain as a miraculous organ designed for continual learning and improvement well into old age. The rich neutral connections in your brain, your creative powers, are something you develop to the degree that you open yourself up to new experiences and ideas. View problems and failures as means to learn and toughen yourself up. You can get through anything with persistence. I can contest to that. View the way people treat you as you largely flowing from your own attitude, something you can control. Don't be afraid to exaggerate the role of willpower. It is an exaggeration with a purpose. It leads to a positive, self fulfilling dynamic, and that is all you care about. See this shaping of your attitude as your most important creation in life, and never leave it to chance. In conclusion, subscribe to the channel, comment any questions you have, like if the information was inspiring for you, and share this knowledge with other alchemists. Also, follow me on Instagram for more progressive knowledge. You can catch me at Max underscore Bugatti underscore 8008. I'm all about family first. I'm a global stock investor. I'm a filmmaker. I'm an aerospace botanist. I have a masculine confidence building program, and currently I'm out here in Cali, Colombia. While you're slaying dragons, I'll be taming them.